So, Saksha,
Hello,
good to start.
everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Campus Care Ed Talks. Ed Talks is a platform where educators come on board and speak and express their viewpoints on the topic related. Today, we have with us Ms. Ritu Bedi, Principal, Red Roses Public School, Palam Vihar, and she is a true leader in all aspects owing to her communication skills, futuristic visions, and empathetic nature. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sakshi.
Yeah, ma'am.
Pleasure and honor to be on this show.
Pleasure is all ours, ma'am. So, ma'am, to start off with the session, I would like to, put across the very first thing with you is what is the importance of questions for students' learning?
Right, Sakshi. Thank you so much because this is a very, very interesting session on how to encourage questioning in the classroom. And I think this should be the first question that you're asking me, the importance of questioning in students' learning. Sakshi, I would say asking questions about something that we want to know is the most convenient and obvious way of trying to understand that thing. So I would start by sharing an experience that I had with our ex-president, Dr. Kalam. In a conference, he gave us a talisman. He said, when a toddler of 3-year-old comes to you for admission and looks at you with wonder in his eyes, he asks, what will you give me, ma'am? With that question, he reposes all his faith in you for the next 14 years of his life. You and your teachers teach him to learn through hundreds of questions asked by him in his journey. Now, it depends on how you satiate each of his query. What values have you instilled in him? What character have you built? You will know only the day he passes out. If you can still look into his eyes and ask, what will you give me now, son or daughter? If you are confident that he or she will be an upright, productive citizen who will give back to the society, to his community, to our nation, then those 14 years were well spent. Because I would say the art of asking right questions is the basic as well as best learning style. And using this opportunity to help navigate the child's energies is the best teaching style.
Absolutely, ma'am. A great quote wherein, actually, whenever a child knowingly or unknowingly gets into a school, it is the safe environment the teacher gives in, the comfortable environment the teacher possesses, and make sure each child is valued is what is the basic learning of every student. So, ma'am, how to make classrooms environment a safe place for questions?
Um, okay. Uh, See, we all know children come to school to learn. And we have just discussed that learning comes through inquiry. Schools do boast of using inquiry based approach. But what exactly is that? Unless students are allowed to make mistakes, experiment for themselves, and dwell deep into concepts through exploration, learning will be limited. Yes, knowledge can be transacted through books, but assimilation comes only from applying it. The four walls, furniture, and books won't make a classroom. A classroom is a place where its inmates can freely express themselves to each other without worrying about being judged. For me, classroom is a place where mistakes are stepping stones, ignorance is opportunity to learn, and doubt is the biggest creativity. Hence, it's the duty of the teacher to create a stress free, open, positive, and inclusive atmosphere for great learning to happen. It's all about learning together, growing together, and not fearing being laughed at or scorned at for not knowing or for questioning for that matter. The teacher must set certain ground rules, that too in a democratic way, in the beginning of the session itself, which become the constitution of that heaven that they all share. On the lighter side, Einstein once said, The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education. So let's make sure that we don't fall into the pit of encouraging students with finger on their lips like we used to be asked to do. And so create lifelong learners and not just rote learners. That would be my answer.
Absolutely, ma'am. Very well put across by the quote you've just displayed for the Einstein. So, ma'am, actually, there are a lot of ways a teacher should be welcoming. A teacher should give an open space to whosoever wants to ask. Maybe there are times ma'am, what do you think? There are times when students ask out of the box question or something that is not even relevant to what is happening in the classroom. So, ma'am, what do you think? Uh, how should a teacher be handling that situation? Or maybe a student, how should a student should deal with his curiosity of understanding and asking certain things that may not be prevalent because of the session they are having.
So basically, how to encourage students for asking good questions, relevant questions. I think that's what you're trying to ask
No, no,
me.
no, ma'am. I'm saying. So there are times when you are teaching something else, and I don't know from where some thought creeps in into my mind, and I would have this curiosity of asking questions. So,
Yes.
like the question is how to tap curiosity in students. So the question is how to tap curiosity in students. So that is what I'm asking. So what if I am asking something which is out of the blue, or maybe whatever is happening in the class may not relate to that. So how a student curiosity should be controlled, and how can teachers encourage to ask questions?
All right. So it is said when the small issues are addressed timely and handled well, the big ones take care of themselves. And I would say it takes a little spark to ignite the fire. Once lighted, the fire spreads quickly. There are various ways of initiating questioning spirit in children, actually. I believe that a teacher is a magician who adopts such techniques that encourage thinking and imagination. Giving open ended questions, giving extrapolative tasks and situations is a great way to get children to think. Encouraging questioning through storytelling can also be a great source of out of the box thinking. See, first of all, initially, the teacher needs to provide a model that children can replicate. For example, I'll take you to your childhood. You remember the story of the hare and the tortoise?
Absolutely, ma'am.
So it has been cited to teach the moral slow and steady wins the
Wins the
race, right?
race.
Hmm? Now,
Absolutely.
students can be asked to change the climax to suit different morals. Like, suppose the hare, our hare, the new hare, 21st century hare, decides to carry the tortoise on his back and sets an example of great friendship.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Alternatively, another child can be, their minds can be raked to think. Another child can be given another situation. Suppose the setting of the race is changed from road to water.
Absolutely.
Then who wins? What is going to be the climax?
The
Children can
tortoise.
consider. Yes, the tortoise perhaps should be winning there
Yeah.
without the hare sleeping.
Right.
Without discouraging one, we have encouraged another. Understand?
Right.
Similarly, giving another example, the well known story of the thirsty crow. You all remember
Absolutely, ma'am.
his trait. The two most important traits were he was very hardworking and had a great presence of mind. But again, in 21st century, my crow has developed different skills. He also has more resources. Hence, he has changed with time. My crow is a smart worker too. So, what solution do you think he finds to reach the water? I ask this from the children, and the children rake their brains and come up with an interesting alternative. Instead of taking the pain and time of picking each pebble, the smart crow finds a straw and thus saves on time and energy both. So
Absolutely.
children would love, they would enjoy this break from the routine and start to think and imagine and question. Students should be allowed to tinker with stuff by taking them to the labs to investigate rather than to conduct the experiment already learned from the manuals, or giving them questions of how, why, what for, rather than what, where in the classroom teaching. Teachers can motivate exploration of concepts and thus instill a spirit of inquiry among students. I think all this should go a long way in encouraging children to ask relevant questions, to encourage questioning from them, to make them think.
Absolutely, ma'am. A very well, way of putting across certain things so everybody can speak. Like we said that, we come along with people who can has or perhaps know the entire knowledge, has the entire knowledge base, but only limited people can understand and channelize and probably link the direct way of how a student should understand certain things. So, ma'am, how will you tap the curiosity in students?
All right. So, since we are talking about questions, let me answer by asking a question. When you go to a class, what happens to a group of students when left unattended?
They're on their own, they're wild. They can, I mean, it's like a freedom to them that nobody's watching and judging them.
Freedom to them. Freedom, you have spoken the word. Freedom to them. The answer is that they'll all start running around. They start tinkering with the stuff around them. They start talking to friends, telling or asking something. In short, everyone starts on an independent exploration journey of his own.
Absolutely.
Is it so? It is so because children are curious by nature. They just want to know. They do exactly opposite of what they have been asked not to do. Now, this curiosity needs to be channelized in a proper direction. That's all that our role is. So, to tap this trait among children, I think the first thing we need to do is teach our children the art of observation. Everyone has seen the apple falling umpteen times, but there is only one Newton. The challenge before us is to see that everyone needs to have their own eureka moment. When one says, yes, this is it. This moment comes through a well-planned and a well-thought-out process. It's not through magic or chance. As the children learn to observe, they get engrossed. This is where the doubt, the very, very important doubt, takes birth. The quest to know develops. Alternatives start to dance before the children. And they learn to critically examine their own point of view that is still developing in them. Analysis of the concept or situation starts taking shape. An active mind is a strong mind, like a parachute that supports us in the air. The more it is in use, the better it works. Just like a well-oiled, like regularly used machine has better efficiency. We all know that. Secondly, a teacher should help them hone their listening skills. To teach active listening, the teacher should demonstrate it first, I think. If the teacher notices the child's puzzled expression and values it, the student feels encouraged to question. Relating concepts with real life or creating games to increase involvement of the students enhances interest of the student, and the child looks for books, resources, to find ways to reach solutions. Even developing new hobbies together can be a great way of learning something unfamiliar. In our childhood, we used to do a lot of riddles. So solving or creating riddles. You remember that there used to be in magazines, there used to be an exercise, find the differences, the similar
Right.
looking pictures,
Yes, ma'am.
then picking the odd ones out.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
All such activities sharpen the mind to find, to locate, and to discover.
Yeah, it helps you concentrate also. What exactly are we looking at?
Yes, exactly. So I think these are certain ways that curiosity can be tapped in children. There are thousands of more, but I think given the limited time that we have, I think these are the things I feel are the most important.
Absolutely, ma'am. So, ma'am, what do you think? According to you, what is the importance of contemplating questions in growing children?
Importance of contemplating questions in growing children. Yeah, growing children, the adolescent age, very, very crucial, very important. Well, I think thinking is important in all age groups, but we know that it is in growing up age that children start to form their ideas, opinions, develop their own ethics, start seeing dreams, start having aspirations that form into habits. And these habits become their way of life, and ultimately a character is crafted. We often say we are what we think. So, yes, it's important to think right. It was the result of man's thinking that machines were made to create tools and applications that would make his life simpler. And it did also. But where have we reached today, particularly post pandemic era? Today, our children are fast becoming slaves of the screen. Would you agree, Sakshi? Do you agree?
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So, unfortunately, many of our youngsters have stopped thinking. They only see, download, and enjoy other people's creativity. When we stop thinking, we stop reasoning. And when we stop reasoning, there is no out of the box thinking happening. And so, obviously, we stop creating sensibly. The real purpose of enhancing children's questioning ability is to turn them into good decision makers, which is a prerequisite for the developing 21st century skills. Of course, schools and teachers can do this magic. I'm thinking of Shri Siva Subramanya Iyer. Remember who he was? I'll give you a hint. Had he not taken his wonder-struck students to the seashore of Rameshwaram to see the seagulls taking flight while he was teaching his class about birds, we wouldn't have got our Kalam.
Mhm.
Everyone knows how Dr. Kalam revered his science teacher, who would teach through experiential methods, even in a remote village of India. So, to make right choices and to take good decisions, children need to be taught how to contemplate. Children should be involved in taking decisions of household matters at home and in school about what to study and how to transact the curriculum. And even apart from that, there are so many things happening in the school in which sometimes there is a conflict. Schools want something else, and we know that children want something else, and yet either we have to give in or we have to go ahead with what we have in mind. So let me give you an example here. Like, we all have canteens in the schools.
Right.
Children love junk food, but it isn't allowed in the canteens.
Right, ma'am.
So we have two options: do not have a canteen, or let children know that their favorite dishes won't be available and displease them. So, is there any other option? Any third option? Yes, there is. See, I'm telling you actually what we did. If we flash a few pictures of the decaying teeth in a bottle of a fizz drink and ask them to find out more about it so that children can find for themselves that how these drinks adversely affect their health. We actually did it in our school. So then the children can get the idea to find out, to think, to contemplate, and in friends groups there will be discussions, and then they will be able to take an informed decision of not asking for aerated drinks in at least in the school canteen. And interestingly, Sakshi, let me tell you that a chapter in chemistry in class 8th, I mean, in science, in their science book, the chapter is called in Everyday, Science in Everyday. The lesson talks about carbonated drinks.
Right.
So if this task is given to class 8 children, I think they can create awareness in the rest of the school. They can study their topic. So it becomes an experiential learning. It also becomes a way of thinking, a way of implementing right decisions in the school. Thus, we teach our children to think of all possible solutions to a problem, developing critical thinking, creative thinking. This involves collaborative working, communicating their ideas, and becoming good citizens. Good decision makers. And I think that is the ultimate goal of education. Even our new education policy 2020 says we need to involve students in their own learning. That's the best way of producing lifelong learners. Hence, the growing children need to learn the art of contemplating questions as they are the ones to suggest answers and implement them too.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Oh,
Thank you so much, ma'am. For sharing such a beautiful way of, maybe expressing or telling or sharing your viewpoints and experiences, wherein you've not just shared information just to answer or just to, for this session, but yeah, it's a way of how you put across your own thoughts and how you put across a story in front of the entire audience, just to tell that we don't have to come a long way. It is just right in the beginning that we have to understand how can we deal, how can we imbibe certain things in in someone's behavior, in students behavior, that could lead to a altogether different life of all the students, of how they can question, how can they contemplate, how can they tap their curiosity. So it's not just about getting a hang of it at a later stage. It should imbibe in the initial stage only. So thank you,
that's right.
Ritu ma'am, for coming here and obliging us for this such a great session, wherein we've learned a lot in terms of short stories that we used to understand in our school homeworks. Now that we have refreshed those memories, so ma'am, it was a great experience having you here. I hope you have the same.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. It was wonderful talking to you, and thank you to all the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good
Have a
day
nice
to you
day.
all. Good day to you all.
With this note, I, Sakshi, host of the evening, would like to sign off. Have a wonderful and a great day ahead. Thank you.